Welcome to This Must Be Heard, a reoccurring podcast featuring discussions of Delaware County Community College's events, achievements, and initiatives. Today, the New Media Lab's executive producer, Tashea White, talks with Ann Binder and Kelly Kiefer about our college's Office of Disability Services. Enjoy the show.
Hi, Ann. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for joining us today and welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to have, a chance to actually get to see you. I feel like we've gone so long now without seeing each other. So it's good to get a chance to talk and get a chance to see you guys.
We appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome to our audience and all of our listeners. Today, we are here to talk about a very important part of the college, the Office of Disability Services, and all about accommodation. So let's just jump right in. For new students or students who just might not know yet, Ann, could you explain what the Office of Disability Services is and its role in the college?
Yes, thank you, Tashea. Basically, our office is here to make sure all qualified students with disabilities have equal access to all of our educational programs, our services, our activities. We're really here to kind of level the playing field by setting up reasonable accommodations to assist students in reaching their educational goals and just offer that support.
Yeah, I would say the Office of Disability Services is a very important part of the college for students like myself with disabilities to get acquainted with, get familiar with, and establish a relationship with, especially if you want to get off on good footing here in college. So yeah, you guys are a very important part.
Thank you.
So I feel like one thing that's very important, especially when we're talking about new students, is that they're going through a period of change. They're going through a transitional period, which can be very scary, but as with all transitions, some things might be different, some things might be the same. Especially when you're transitioning from one level of institution to another. And that's the same for accommodations. So could you explain how accommodations in college differ from those in high school?
You're absolutely right, Tashea. It is a transition and it really can be challenging. And that's why I appreciate us being able to talk about our office today, because the laws are so different. Special education ends in high school, as do students' IEPs. In college, there's no specially designed instruction. There's no resource room. There's no test modifications or altering assignment deadlines, or even reminding you to turn assignments in. So in college, you're the adult. No one knows your disability or your business. There's a tremendous amount of freedom, but that also means there is a lot of responsibility. It's basically your decision whether to work with our office or go to class or even do your homework. Faculty aren't even allowed to talk to your parents, and staff can't either without your written permission. That's why your communication is so critical. College is also so fast paced, and there's a tremendous amount of work that's required outside of class time. But there are a tremendous amount of support services to help you, but you have to seek them out. And Office of Disability Services is here to help you access them. Thank you.
Yeah, and that was something I didn't know. I didn't have a good grasp on when I first started at college. So it was, I wouldn't say it was shocking, but it was just something I wasn't aware of at first. And I definitely think, speaking personally, that is true. It's a lot of you now having to advocate for yourself, and you having to facilitate those communications with your professors and different departments, which you guys do such a great job at with helping. But it's definitely, you've got to kind of step out on your own and speak out for yourself to get what you need.
Important point, Tashea. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I think one of the first questions students are going to have is about then how do they get started? How do they start getting accommodations? What is that process like? So Kelly, could you kind of just explain what is the process of receiving accommodations here at DCCC?
Yes, of course. The process first is to submit documentation to the Office of Disability Services. So if you had an IEP or a 504 in high school, then we'll need that. And we'll also need the reevaluation report, which was completed to be able to write the IEPs. We also accept documentation from doctors. So private testing from medical doctors, psychologists, licensed psychiatrists. We will accept that. We just ask that they explain what the diagnosis is and what they recommend accommodations that you'd benefit from at college. After we receive and evaluate your documentation, then we'll meet with you and we will agree upon accommodations. In that discussion, we really rely on you explaining what has worked for you in the past, how your disability impacts you in the classroom, and how we can make sure you access the material like all the other classmates. We don't adjust tests, so you're going to be taking the same tests as your classmates. You're going to be receiving the same material. These accommodations are just there to level the playing field and to show the professor what you know. And the last point is to make sure that you give your accommodation letter to your professor. You have to do that every semester. Sometimes if you're taking like an online class, you'll just need to email our office giving us permission to email the accommodation letter directly to your professors. And we ask you to check in with your professors to make sure that they received it. It's important to make sure that they have it because it's not retroactive. So they won't give you the accommodations until they receive that letter. And it's important just to have a discussion with your professor about how your accommodations might look in that specific class, because it might be different for different classes and there might be different expectations. And also, we ask that you reach out to us throughout the semester if there's anything you need. Let us know if your accommodations are not being met or if you think you need to add some more accommodations. If we don't hear from you, we're just going to assume that everything's going well. So like Tashea said, we're going to really rely on you to communicate and advocate for yourself to our office.
Yes, very important. I feel like that's going to be the key term. It's communication, communication, communication. Because I feel like that is definitely what has helped me get past some of the hurdles here at college. Definitely. I'm just thinking that it's underestimated how important that is, because you're used to people kind of helping you advocate when you're in high school. Once you get to college, like we said earlier, it's on you, and your professors aren't going to necessarily assume that you have a disability or assume that you need help or want help. It's kind of like you have to let them know, and that's all they need to know. They need to, like you said, have the letter of accommodations to know what you need, but also you to communicate with them and let them know that you, one, need help, two, that you want help, and then the best way to help you. And in my experience here, once that's kind of smoothed out and you have that communication going, anything that comes up, you can pretty much handle. Just work on it. Everybody's so willing to help. You guys have been great with setting up meetings with professors to talk, to brainstorm, to figure things out that I personally didn't know if we were going to be able to figure out or if there was a way around. So again, the sooner you can get started on this process of getting your accommodations set up, the better. And what Kelly just said too, just make sure you're in communication, making sure your professors are getting your letters of accommodation. You're communicating with everybody, so everybody's on the same page. Definitely, I 100% agree with all of that. Is exactly how this works. And I would say my accommodations, and especially my relationship with you guys there at the Office of Disability Services, has been, super beneficial and essential in getting me as far as I have so far in college. But Kelly, what would you say are the benefits to self-identifying with the Office of Disability Services?
I think this is a great question because
Mhm.
a lot of times students come to college, they want a clean slate, and they say, I want to try this without using my IEP, using my accommodations
Oh
from
gosh.
high school. And unfortunately, sometimes students, you know, it's your legal right to get your accommodations. So
Mhm.
some students who've done that have ended up not doing well in their classes, maybe failing the class and needing to retake it.
Mhm.
And we can't go back and change that. So accommodations are not retroactive. So you really need to be able to do it from the beginning and make sure you get those accommodations that you legally deserve. Um, Nobody's going to know that you receive accommodations. So, like we said a few times, there's no resource room or special education. So, your classmates aren't going to know that you
Mhm.
have a disability. Your professors are not going to tell anybody in your classes. We keep it confidential between us and your professors. Um, it's not going to be on your diploma that you received accommodations. Um, you're going to receive the same diploma that everybody receives. Because these accommodations are really there just to allow you to access the material and to show the professor what you know. It's smart and responsible to put these accommodations in place from the beginning, because college is hard enough,
Mm.
and we want to give you every opportunity to be successful while you're in college. Um, Other benefits from self-identifying with the disability office is that we send out newsletters that keep everybody in the loop about things happening over the college, the different supports that we have. Um, if you work with us, we can even just point you in the right direction. Even if we can't help you with the answer, we can tell you where to go. Um, it's kind of like a person to check in with, and somebody to have your back while you're in college. And even if you're still on the fence about identifying with the disability office, um, know that even if we put accommodations in place, we do the whole process. You can choose if you want to use your accommodations in your classes. Um, but just in case you come across some bumps in the road throughout your time in college, it's going to be such a relief to have something to fall back on,
Mhm.
to have the accommodations already in place. If you're going through a hard time, you don't want to additionally have to start this whole process.
Yes.
That can take a while.
Yes. I I totally agree. I totally agree. Especially with what you said earlier. When I first started at DCCC, I was very scared. I was very intimidated. Um, and I've just always had the kind of personality, even in high school, where I wanted to see how much I could do without accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
And while in some ways it caused me to push myself, um, and past certain limits I thought I had, in a lot of ways it hindered me. It added a lot of extra stress that I didn't need to
Mm-hmm.
have. Um, and once I started getting used to actually using accommodations, um, especially when I came to DCCC and I had them, I mean, it's like it's having something to just smooth out all of those issues you run into. It's
Mm-hmm.
something like you just said to fall back on, that you can communicate a group with you guys to work with issues on, so you're not alone in figuring these things out. And as I just said, it took a lot of stress off of me to know that, if I need maybe some extra time, I could just speak with my professor because they have my letter of accommodation. They'll extend maybe time I need for a test because, as a visually impaired student, I have to have some of my tests read to me, or I might have to take a test on a computer, and that takes extra time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's I can't really express how beneficial accommodations are. And I strongly urge new students, any students that haven't already gotten in touch with you guys, to use your accommodations. Don't, as you said, college is difficult enough. Do not just try to jump in it all alone. Use it. It doesn't make you any less of a student. It's just what Ann Binder just said earlier. It's leveling the playing field for you so that you can get on the same footing as every other student at the college. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure, because I've had personal experiences with that. So I wanted to stress that for any other students in my situation. But unfortunately, we are almost out of time. Is there anything else you guys would want to tell any new students before we go?
I think you're a good spokeswoman, Tashea.
Yeah. You said it better than we could.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, could you give your information for students that might just be listening, even though we're going to have it up on the screen as well for those watching the video, so that they can get in contact with you as soon as possible? Because of course, like we just said, the sooner you start the process, the better.
Absolutely. If you're on the Marple campus or our campuses, you can stop down to our office by the Career and Counseling Center in room 1335. You can contact us. My phone number is 610-325-2748. And Kelly?
Yeah, I work at the Marple campus and also all of the branch campuses. So the best way to get a hold of me is through email. My email is KKIEF, as in Frank, ER2 at DCCC.edu. So that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks so much for, just coming and talking today. I think this is a very important topic. Sometimes we could be such a small part of the population. Maybe we feel like we fall under the radar, but I think this was a great conversation. I'm glad you guys could take the time out to talk with us today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tashea. It's been fun.
Yes, this has been awesome. This has been great. Well, thank you so much to all of our listeners. Again, if you're a student and you're listening, I strongly, especially if you're a student that identifies with the Office of Disability Services, I strongly encourage you to get in contact with them. I mean, as you can see, they're very kind, very helpful, and you only serve to benefit from a relationship with the Office of Disability Services. I have had a relationship with them for years, and it has been nothing but beneficial for me. So just take that step and reach out to them. And on that note, thank you to all of our listeners, and we're out.
Thank you.
You've been listening to This Must Be Heard, brought to you by the New Media Lab and Campus Life. Today's host and producer was Tashea White. Our guests today were Ann Binder and Kelly Kiefer. Victoria Colbreth and Sam Larson designed our cover art, and I am Bruce Blanchard, your announcer for this episode. If you have an interest in joining our students' organization, please reach out directly to the Office of Campus Life. We welcome both beginners and experienced content creators. You can participate on the mic or behind the scenes on our production team. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at DCCC_New Media Lab. Thanks again for listening.